Hi and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Anthony Morrow, joined by Paul Tobin, and we're here to talk about some of Paul's books and lines he has here at Dark Horse Comics, including Bandette, PVZ, which is Plants vs. Zombies, and Earthboy. Paul, would you mind briefly going into what each of those series are about?
Well, Plants vs. Zombies is based on the video game. When Dark Horse first approached me, there was just the very, very first game, just like plants and zombies fighting each other. So they had me create the world of Neighborville and some actual more characters and things like that. And since there was really no groundwork, since I was starting from the ground up, it was like I could create anything. So it's been kind of fun. It reminds me of like the old Mad magazines that I used to read when I was a kid, just kind of as wacky a humor as I can go. And not everything makes sense, but everything's kind of funny. And I try to give it a lot of heart too, and make the characters into real people or real zombies, as it were, since some of them are zombies. And I guess there's plants too, but to give them real personalities and just mostly just to have it lighthearted fun, but pretty relentless. I like as many jokes as possible. I can remember when I first was writing them, they actually told me, "You have too many jokes per page. Kind of lay off," which was strange to me. It's like I felt like they were saying, "You're doing too good." But it's comics, and you can only write, or you can only illustrate so much on a page. So
Right.
And Ron Chan, who's a fantastic artist, was the first artist on those, and he really helped establish the feel of the characters as we developed the characters, and it's done very well for us. It's I think I'm actually working on another edition today. I don't even know how many editions that is. It's like maybe 20, 21 now that I've worked on. So
I want to think we're up to 20 at this point. I think 120 is what we're imminently going to be announcing here soon.
Nice. And I still really enjoy working on them. I still have new ideas because it's always fun just to kind of be crazy.
Yeah, it's a fun sandbox to play in, especially like you said, getting to lay that groundwork yourself and really kind of build up what that world is, at least in the comics. Have you seen bleed over from the comics into the games at that point then?
We discuss. I help with the games to a certain degree, and we've discussed moving some of the characters into the games. In particular, Mr. Stubbins, the tiny little hedgehog zombie.
Sure.
But Neighborville itself, the town, the city, is in the games now. So, yeah, we want to start working some more of that into it. Just kind of, I don't want to say merge the two worlds, but just be aware of the two worlds together. So.
Right. Well, talk to us about Bandette a little bit. That's one of your creator-owned things you work on with Colleen Coover. It's on volume 4 now, or no, excuse me, yeah, 4, called the Six-Shooter Secret.
Six-Finger Secret. Yep.
Six-Finger Secret. Thank you. A lot of S's, a lot of
I know.
six in there. Yeah, it's fun.
Bandette is, like you say, I work on it with Colleen Coover, who is my wife. So we actually work pretty close together, although not as close as most people think. Most people think that we bandy ideas back and forth and things like that. But I really don't work any different with her on Bandette than I do working on some other titles where, the artist might live in Spain or something. I complete a full script and then I give it to Colleen and then she draws it, which is... yeah, because as a writer, I kind of like to grab all the control I can, so I don't want to hear ideas until. But Bandette is the greatest thief in the world. She's a young teen girl who lives in a kind of Paris. We don't like to call it Paris because if we call it Paris, then we have to be true to Paris, and that gets tough. But yeah, she's the greatest thief in the world, and she lives in kind of a harsh world, but she's relentlessly charming. It's probably the most charming comic I've ever, I was going to say read. I guess I write it. So, but we get that a lot. It's just so charming, and I wanted a book that was. We didn't know that Bandette would work at first, so when Colleen and I started on it, we decided that whatever we did, it would just need to be the most fun possible. So we put in everything that we liked, like the old heist films, like Audrey Hepburn. The movie Amelie was a big influence. and Diabolic, an Italian series, and things like that. And because we figured if it didn't work, we were at least having fun. And as so often happens, if creators are having fun, then readers are having fun. And that's something I've really noticed over time is like any book, comic, movie, music that I like, it's the creators having a good time. So that's what Colleen and I try to do. And she's turned into I mean, yes, I'm married to her, and yes, I would hear if I didn't say this, but she literally is my favorite artist in the world, which is kind of amazing. And we've been nominated and won several Eisners for Bandette, so it's nice.
Yeah, I definitely, Bandette is one of those comics that the writing and the art, it's a perfect fit, in my opinion. And it's really something special. It really is capturing like lightning in a bottle when the writing and the art fit together so well that you can't imagine another creative team working on it at all. So it captures the spirit of like old film noir, in my opinion, but like in a really, really fun kind of like not super dark way. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've read the first 2 volumes myself, and it's like you said, it is charming. It is one of the most charming comics I've ever read, personally too. So you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. And let's talk about Earthboy for a couple of minutes.
Earthboy is a graphic novel I did with Ron Chan. Daniel Tobin, who's an editor at Dark Horse, came to us and said, "You guys did so good creating Plants vs. Zombies, not creating it, but building the world, that why don't you create something of your own together?" And it was like, oh yeah, that would be fun. And Ron's a big fan of like space and things. I think he'd been playing the Mass Effect games and some other games at the time. And he's like, I want to draw space things. And I'm like, okay. So we came up with the concept of Earthboy, who Benson Chow is the main character. He's a young boy who dreams of being accepted into the Kairos Academy, which is the Galactic Ranger Academy. But nobody from Earth has ever been accepted into the Kairos Academy because Earth is really new to the Galactic Center and kind of looked upon as not ostracized, but so new that nobody really pays attention to him. So Benson is really honored to be the first Earth boy to ever enter the Kairos Academy. But he's soon to find out that the only reason that they put him in there is because they got a tax break if they got a kid from Earth. So it's him trying to still be a good ranger and be true to himself while finding out that he's really looked upon not as a ranger, but nothing more than an Earth boy.
Right.
And it's so beautifully illustrated. Ron just kicked all the butt in illustrating it. It's amazing.
He really did. The cover itself is a phenomenal cover because it's very, I wouldn't say monotone, but it's like it's mainly yellow. You know, it's very one color. But the more you look at it, the more you can pull out of it. It's just so detailed, but in a very subtle way. And I just feel like that's how the entire book is illustrated. Really, it's just there's so much in there where on your first read you're reading for the story, obviously, but on all subsequent reads you're just like, I'm going to pull out as much of the panels as I can because there's so much in each panel.
Mm-hmm. That's one reason I like working with Ron is because as a writer, I have a tendency to like to tell stories in backgrounds too.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists don't put those in, which is, you know, if you don't have room, you don't have room. But Ron not only like puts in those little background stories, but he adds even more of his own.
Yeah.
So it's like the story builds and builds and builds. And like, even when I'm reading through it, I find new parts of the story that Ron put in. So like you say, Anthony, it's like, it's worth more than one read.
It absolutely is. And it just helps it feel like a more lived in world too. Like Ron really puts in that extra effort to just make it feel real in the story sense. So
that's one thing that's really important in me in storytelling. And in these 3 books we've mentioned and books across the board is I need to believe in the world before I can believe in the characters.
Yes.
You can't really have them separate. You need to have them merged together. So I'm glad that worked for you.
Yeah, it absolutely did. 100% did. Well, I believe we're out of time, but thank you so much for joining me and talking to me today. Where can people find you?
Well, online, I really just do a Twitter. That's all I have time for. Probably I spend too much time there. So just Paul Tobin on Twitter. And then, you know, all my works are in the Dark Horse shop or or comic shops and bookstores. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us. Have a phenomenal day.
Thanks, everyone.